Good morning. Welcome everyone to another video. And I just wanted to say a massive shout out. Thank you to the Land of the Losers for sponsoring today's video. It is a really super cool book about how a guy goes from simp to successful with women. When I got it, I'm not a reader, but I couldn't put it down. If you want to get a hold of that, check it out in the description below. 20% off code for getting it on Smashwords. But let's get on to the video of today because this is a corker. Why can't a glamorous midlife woman like me find a decent man? No, I'm not referring to myself. I'm reading the article that this lady wrote. Her name is Sue Reed, and she's writing for the Daily Mail. But she's writing on behalf of Kim Thompson. Now, who is Kim Thompson, you might ask? Well, I'm not going to make you wait. I'm going to share with you a picture of Kim before I start reading this article. This is Kim. There we go. That's Kim. So I'm sure some of you can reach your own conclusions as to why she might be having a bit of a struggle. But in case we're wrong about that, in case we're way off the mark, let's dive into this. Despairing divorcee, red flag, 58, has auditioned countless suitors with comically disastrous results. Kim Thompson clutches a piece of paper in her well-manicured hands. I wonder how big that piece of paper is. A3? I mean, could it be poster sized? On it, she has written the names of boyfriends she met while dating online. She takes me through the list. First, there was complicated Chris, followed by Ben, who was a disappointment in bed, and strange Tim, who had a habit of talking non-stop about his collection of Hornby toy trains. Then there was the property developer who took her out for dinner, slopped spaghetti down his front, and told Kim on their first date how much he liked sex. There are lots of others too. Of course there are. I knew it. Lots of others, right? Listen to those words. Lots of others whom she came across when she turned to internet matchmaking sites to find a long-term partner. Now here's the thing. Look, I agree that the things that I've heard so far, these guys probably weren't premium candidates. And if I was a chick, I would probably be a bit disappointed as well. I'm not going to lie. But did it ever occur to her why those may be the only people trying to court her? Yeah. But please don't betray me as a man-hater, she begs, perching on an immaculate white sofa at her home. And I mean, it would be kind of hard to betray her as a man-hater given that she's got a long list of men that she's been dating. They seemed to either be liars, hopeless in bed, had a mean streak, or had a former wife hovering in the background. All of these things allude back to one key point, that they're just using you as a whole with which to gain pleasure. Now, personally, I don't use women as wholes. I know there are some women that use men as walking dildos. I know there are some men that use women as wholes, and that only. So why would they be lying? Well, to cover up the fact that they've got a girlfriend or a partner because they just want to use you for sex and that's it. Hopeless in bed, that would explain why they don't have a wife or a girlfriend. Had a mean, well, I mean, look, obviously there are situations in which people are good in bed and they have no issue getting a wife or girlfriend. But then they wouldn't be in your pool. Had a mean streak. What does that mean specifically? Does it mean just being brutally honest and not caring about what she thinks? Because I mean, if they're mean to her, then they're probably just using her for sex, which comes back to my original thing. Or had a former wife hovering in the background. Now, former wife, you know, sometimes former wives tend to hang around even when they're your former wife, right? It's not their fault. But, you know, and I'm going to assume that when you say former wife, they're now separated or they're not together anymore. So former wife should not be hovering, but whatever. In normal times, Kim has a good job running an architect's office. At 58, the divorcee owns a 3-bedroom house in a smart London suburb and looks 10 years younger than her age. Huh, really? She looks older than 48. You would expect her to be pursued by a string of eligible men. No, no, I wouldn't. I would not expect that at all because eligible men, by the standards that she seems to be putting out there, simply are not going to pursue her, let alone in a string of people just one after the other, all lined up, waiting to pander to her every desire and her every need and her every want, and to be the perfect conversationalist, to be good in bed, to be doting but also stoic, and all of these things that she probably wants in a man, a masculine man. Yet earlier this year, Kim reluctantly made the decision to give up on love and romance, scarred by 2 years of trying to find a man online with whom she might actually want to form a long-term relationship. Well, the reason why you're not having any success is because you don't have what men want from a woman that they would generally pursue a long-term relationship with. Those two things are youth and fertility. As cruel as that may be, that's just the truth. She is speaking up now because she wants other women to know that internet dating can be a fool's game. Gee, are you sure it's a fool's game? Because, you seem to be pretty late to this realization party. Try being a guy doing online dating, unless you're like a super, super, super hot, attractive guy. And if you are a super hot, attractive guy, you're probably fucking everything that moves, in which case you wouldn't be the candidate for this particular woman anyway, because that's not what she wants. Because she wants someone that's going to be exclusive to her and have a long-term relationship, which is not what the top tier guys are doing on Tinder and Bumble and all of these other online dating sites. So you have to settle for the leftovers, which is what you're not happy with. So you're stuck between a real rock and a hard place. You're stuck in a bit of a double bind. This is what we call a catch-22. After half a decade of having no significant other, and she freely confesses no sex, she turned to online dating. With all of her friends long married, there was little other option to meet single men. And see, this is the thing, because this is the age when you've got the people that are married and the people that are not married. And the women that are not married start to feel left out because their friends are, going on holidays with their husbands or with their husbands and the kids that they have together. And she's sitting at home trying to work out if that's cat pee or compost from outside. But like Candace Bushnell, author and creator of the blockbuster TV series Sex and the City, which charted the 1990s New York dating scene, Kim found the whole experience a bitter disappointment. Well, what a surprise. Because I can only imagine from what you just said that you're making a comparison between yourself and Candace Bushnell. And we've all seen that article about Candace Bushnell realizing that the Sex and the City persona and the Sex and the City life that she thought was this thing to aspire to was all a train wreck waiting to happen at the end. It seemed great while it was still going on, right? Happy days while everything's still working. But when you get to the point where you've reached middle age and you no longer have the physical attractiveness that you used to, and potentially you're even a bit tainted. And look, there's guys out there who are tainted as well. And a lot of these guys are like, well, look, I've been tainted by this previous relationship. I'm over it. I understand it now, and I'm not going to go down that road again. And men are going their own way in droves, and the only rational conclusion to reach for many men, particularly with what they've had to go through. And no one deserves that. Not a woman, not a man. Anyway, Candace, who sampled internet dating to research her new semi-fictional memoir, Is There Still Sex in the City? Oh, God. There's plenty. They're just not going to commit to you. Told the Mail in a recent interview, it was just shockingly sad. There was such a lack of quality men. Well, here's a mirror, Candace, because it seems there are also a lack of quality women. Thanks to you giving women this idea that they can go out and ride the carousel with the music playing and nibbling on some fairy floss with a fucking little teddy bear in the other arm that you just got from the shooting gallery at the fair while you ride that carousel. You can't create an entire series based around quote unquote strong independent women who aren't really strong and independent because they cry whenever they go through a breakup, which seems to be every couple of weeks. In the meantime, you are having sex partner after sex partner after sex partner. I wonder if there's a reason that these men are disappearing from your life. Could it potentially be, Candace, that you're not a quality woman? So I just find it incredibly ironic that Candace and Kim are talking about how there's a lack of quality men to either quote verbatim or paraphrase, depending on the person that I'm referring to, while simultaneously not being a quality woman, or at least having the qualities that most men find attractive, or at least the kind of quality men that she's after find attractive. Candace cited the example of Arnold, a frisky, sexist septuagenarian who declared when giving her a tour of his home, including the bedroom, "I've had a lot of great sex on that bed. I hope to have a lot more in future." Now here, see, right after complaining that there was a lack of quality men, Candace then blames herself for failing to find love on the internet, saying that at 61, she is probably too picky when it comes to men. Yeah, probably, Candace. Probably. That is not an expression Kim recognizes. Why not be picky, she asks. I found there were too few decent ones to pick from. That was the trouble. Yeah, it's got nothing to do with the fact that you're not attracting the decent single ones, does it? No. Nothing to do with that, Kim. It's all their fault. Kim's internet dating adventures began in 2018. I love how she calls them adventures. Divorced for 15 years and the mother of 28-year-old twins. She'd had 2 relationships since her marriage ended, but by then had been single for 5 years. She has a small group of good friends, most of them married, but rarely sees a fresh face, particularly a male one. Her office-based job and site visits to mainly family homes mean her chances of bumping into a new man are slim. And Kim, even if you did bump into someone in the office, have you not read all those articles about how men don't want anything to do with you in the workplace because of Me Too, because of your mates that make up, not literally your mates, but because of other women that will say anything to get what they want in the workplace, right? Those that do. And it's not even close to every single woman in the workplace. It's obviously a minority of women in the workplace, but it's a significant enough gross amount across the board to make it super risky for guys to just engage, for guys to be alone in an office, for guys to mentor a woman, for guys to go out to lunch with a woman, for guys to travel with a woman, for all of these things. And women complain, oh, guys need to mentor her, #mentor her. No, you ruined it. Like literally. And the bar for what's classified as sexual harassment these days is so freaking low that it's just not worth even saying hello to a woman in the workplace if you value your job, because you never know which one's going to take it the wrong way. And it's sad, but it's true. And it's too freaking bad for the women that don't make accusations or don't take offense to everything. They're the ones that should be standing up against these chicks that are ruining it for everyone. Seriously. Because we're like, okay, you're going to put that kind of risk on me? I'm out. So for the women that do actually want people to continue to engage with them, it's going to be a long process to even get us to consider dealing with you again. But the Me Too shit's got to stop in the workplace. Otherwise, we're just not coming back. I mean, unfortunately, I'm in a workplace where it's not an issue and there's cameras everywhere. And I could never be accused of doing the wrong thing because I also am fairly standoffish and I'm always on camera and I'm always covered. But for people who aren't always on camera or don't always have audio monitoring, that can be a real problem because it's her word against his. She explains, I was pottering along happily single until 2 years ago when a girlfriend said, You don't want to be alone for the rest of your life and suggested online dating. Wait, she doesn't want to be alone for the rest of her life? Who told her that? Who told her that? By the way, shout out to Joseph Ross for that super chat. Thank you, my brother. Thank you to BK. I appreciate that. And the Price is Right review says, yo, what's up, my man? Always a pleasure seeing your streams, brother. Off topic, I don't know if you've seen it yet. James Younger from Texas, in a recent ruling, now forced to transition into a girl, and dad is forced to pay for it. I saw that. That is some seriously tragic shit. I really should cover that. Let me just print screen that. I will capture that for later. And do we have any more for now? No, we don't. So I'm just going to take that off the screen. So financially, here we go. She admits, I was quite naive. I thought the men were looking for what I was looking for. A committed relationship, possibly marriage. I couldn't have got it more wrong. Financially self-sufficient, she says she was keen to find a go-getter, someone who had achieved something in his life, who was educated, had old-fashioned values, and would join her on adventures exploring the world. Instead, what she said she found, having tried a range of websites including Match.com, Bumble, Tinder, and Zoosk, she must have amassed quite a list, was a generation of men who were economical with the truth about their looks and lifestyles, relentlessly bitter about their ex-wives, and looking for sex or to find a woman who would support them financially. Well, I dare say the ones who were looking for a woman to support them financially would have been the ones who had been completely screwed over financially. The men will have a series of pictures on their profiles, and the initial ones will often be decades old when they've got hair and no paunches, says Kim. It's only when you reach the last picture that you might get something of the truth, a balding, overweight man with bad teeth. She continues, I met one for coffee after seeing his photo with blonde hair, then chatting to him on the phone. In reality, he had gray hair and a pot belly. Well, boo-hoo. Maybe you can go for a walk with him. He was 20 years older than he looked on the dating website. Just like you look 20 years older than you think you look, right? Because you're 58. Well, okay, maybe you don't look 68, but you definitely look 58 and thinking you look 48. Come on. What kind of delusion is that? Just be honest, be realistic with yourself, and you're going to have a lot better luck on the online dating scene. So anyway, she just said goodbye to him on the spot when he was 20 years older than he looked. They post pictures of themselves with their children to make themselves look like good family men, when in reality they have no intention of settling down, or they will pose by a Mercedes or a yacht. And knowing what I know now, I'd be very skeptical whether they actually owned them. Yeah, just like girls pose with Lamborghinis and Ferraris and McLarens. I'd be very skeptical as to whether they own them also. There is little sense of chivalry left either. Oh, I got a video for you on chivalry. Oh my goodness, that's going to be my next one. I'm excited for that. So if you haven't yet subscribed, make sure you do that now and smash the bell. And just check any way that you are still subscribed and getting all my notifications in case YouTube has unticked you for some reason, intentional or otherwise. There's little sense of chivalry left either. I'm happy to pay my way, but in the old days, men would have offered to pay for your dinner. Very few do now. One man I met for coffee actually stood back when the waitress asked who was paying. He didn't even go halves with me on a coffee. Did you ask him on the date? Were you the one that asked him out on the date, Kim? Because if you were, by the logic of most women, by the logic of your sisters, by the logic of the sisterhood, you should pay. Internet dating is like a sweet shop. So men will show interest in hundreds of women, but I don't think they really want to follow it up. They're always looking for something better. So what they actually do is they just swipe right on everyone. So when you swipe right on them, you automatically match because they're just, that's what happens. That's how it works. There is something called breadcrumbing where a man will throw out crumbs of interest in you, a message every so often, just to keep you interested in them. There must be some lovely men out there who are genuinely interested in having a committed relationship, but it's like looking for a needle in a haystack. I've got no idea how you find them. I would suggest, and this is not to be mean, but I would suggest starting to look at your nutrition and starting to maybe lift some weights just to get some tone and some muscle definition and, a bit more shape, the type of shape that men can't find feminine that would be attracted to. Like, I mean, let's take, for example, Donovan Sharp. His girlfriend is very good looking for her age, very fit body, and he keeps it 100. He makes sure that what needs to be done in order to maintain that physique is done, right? He leads by example, right? Donovan Sharp is a freaking beast in the gym, man. Have you seen that guy? Fresh out of a workout? God damn. Like, man, I'm not gay. I'm just saying the guy's a good looking bloke, right? And shout out to you, Donovan. Much respect for the hard work you put in, both in the podcasting studio and in the gym, and and in every other area of the manosphere. Thank you for being such a trooper and a soldier in the manosphere. Anyway, at times I've sat home crying. I've asked myself what I'd done wrong. Am I too old? Am I unattractive? And this is a bitter pill to swallow, because the reality is that if she wants to get the type of guy that she is after, yes, she is too old. And it sucks. It really sucks, but it is what it is. And there's nothing you can do about it. It's not like I want to come on here and be like, ha ha, you're too old. That's so funny. No, it's actually not funny. It's really not. Because you were lied to that your degrees and your career success and all of these things mattered more than your attractiveness. You were lied to by others about your level of attractiveness, because if you weren't lied to by others, then you wouldn't think you looked 48 when you look 58. Right? I'm not trying to be cruel here. I wish I didn't have to say this stuff, but I'm just being honest. And I think the people that are not honest with her are a lot more cruel to her than what I'm being right now. And I would say the same to any man who is being delusional or being unrealistic about his prospects or anything like that. If I came across a man right now and he was overweight and he was in his mid-40s and he wanted to improve your dating prospects, I'd be like, dude, we need to get you a fucking gym membership. We need to get you doing some calisthenics. We need to change your diet, right? Is this what you really want? Because if it is, you're going to have to work for it. That's what I would say to the guy. And I'm going to say the same to her, because it's absolutely solid advice. Of course, she is neither of those things. Of course, and this is exactly what I'm talking about. The author of this article is saying, no, you're not too old. You're not unattractive. Well, you know what? You are somewhat unattractive. You do need to work on your diet. You do need to work on your nutrition. You do need to work on your physical physique. And if you do that, you will attract far more men of a higher caliber than you are currently attracting now. Take that as some sage advice. I hope that helps if you ever see this or read this. Of course, she's neither of those things, but listening to her litany of romantic disappointments, it's easy to understand her despondency. Yeah, well, it is easy to understand that, especially as it has all started so well with her first internet date. He was called Chris, aged 57, and lived in the home counties. He had a sales job. We chatted online and then over the phone, and there was definitely a connection. He was so easy to talk to. He'd been separated for 5 years and had 3 kids, she says. When we met for coffee, we hit it off well. There was a lot of sexual chemistry. Oh, hang on. A lot of sexual chemistry between us. He used the word love quite quickly within a couple of weeks. I thought I'd found the right person for me. If you are a guy or a girl dating a guy or a girl, whatever your sexual preference is, and you have someone using the word love way too quickly, I would say that is a red flag. Keep away from that. Just be careful, right? That's all I ask. Anyway, but as time went on, it emerged that Chris had some tricky emotional baggage. despite splitting from his wife 5 years before. He'd never got a divorce. Well, I can understand that. Look, I was in the same boat myself. I didn't get a divorce for a while after I'd separated from my ex-wife. I thought that was a bit odd, she says, but I didn't want to push it at first. After a while, though, I began to wonder why. He also talked about her a lot and how she'd left him after having an affair at work. That was when the trouble began. As both of them were working, they would meet on a Saturday morning, and Chris would ask Kim to meet him at precisely 7:15 p.m. He instructed me never to turn up before then so as not to bump into his daughter, who was in her early 20s. She visited him for a sandwich after her day's work at a shop. To begin with, I understood that he wanted to take things slowly. My son lives with me, and I would want to be sure before introducing him to someone new. Oh, Kim, respect for taking that approach with your son. I think that's good advice for any parent that's got kids and potentially looking to introduce them to a new partner. Do take your time. Don't just introduce them straight away because kids need stability. You don't want someone coming in and out of their lives, because if the kids get attached to someone, it's actually going to end up being, really, really sad for the kids. That's just the reality of it. Here we go. See, and this, I'm about to come across what women tend to do if they've been over to your house. To begin with, I understood that he wanted to take things slowly. My son lives with me, and I'd want to be sure before introducing him to someone new, but this went on for months. I think he was worried that if I met his daughter, she would tell his estranged wife I was on the scene. He wanted me to be a secret. When I left my pink hairbrush at his place once. Why did you leave your pink hairbrush there, Kim? He panicked and said he'd had to tell his daughter it belonged to a work colleague who had visited him. After nearly 6 months of the strange Saturday night meetings and a couple of outings to the pub, Kim threw in the towel. We had an argument on the phone about me having to go to his flat all the time. I realized he was a wimp. He was never going to break free from his wife, and he was tight. It was always me bringing expensive champagne and food to his flat. Maybe he doesn't want champagne and doesn't care about champagne, because if he doesn't, then he's not going to buy expensive champagne for you. So he's not cheap for not buying champagne that he doesn't want to drink. I mean, if he drinks champagne and you bring expensive champagne and you want to drink it with him, it's not going to say no. But if it's not his thing, if he's not excited about it, of course he's not going to waste money unnecessarily. Although she felt dejected, Kim was soon dating again. This time, she hitched up with Ben, a 58-year-old hedge fund manager from a trendy part of London who had a 2-bedroom flat. He was at least divorced, she says wryly. And the reason why it's important to her that he's divorced is because if he's divorced, then he can get married to her. By the way, smash that thumbs up. We've got 171 of you gentlemen in the box. I appreciate you all. We were on a level playing field financially, and he was a university graduate. Oh, how lovely. Uni grad. Probably a male feminist as well, who had studied classics. I'm really interested in ancient Rome. So when we met for the first time at a restaurant in Richmond during the afternoon, we chatted about it for ages. He was a good conversationalist. Afterwards, he walked me back to my car. He kissed me on the lips. When I got home, he texted me asking if we could meet again that same night. We walked along the river and stopped at a pub where we both had a mineral water. He was a strict vegan. There we go, male feminist. And I don't drink wine. So again, we were on the same page. She got her hopes up when Ben, whose hobby was going to jive dancing classes, asked her to stay overnight a few weeks later. He appeared the perfect gentleman, says Kim. We had a Thai meal, talked about the Romans, then went back to his flat. But when we climbed into bed, he just turned his back on me. He showed no interest in being intimate. The next morning, he said he was sorry. He said it had happened with his last girlfriend, and if we tried again a few times, it might get better. She hoped their sex life would spark up. It never did. There was always the same dismal outcome. It was embarrassing for him. He had some difficulty in that department, she says now. Not surprisingly, she let their relationship fade away. Quick shout out to Skupun, regular donator. Thank you, brother. Blind and misguided confidence does not override harsh and abject reality. This is what people like this don't or can't accept. That's correct. And I'm about to dish out some harsh reality myself, Skupun. Thank you for that. With respect to that thing he was just talking about. So he said with his ex-girlfriend, he couldn't get it up. With her, he couldn't get it up. Obviously, at this point, they had undressed to a certain point. Given that that's the case, I think you'll find he's probably seen the undressed body and it's just turned him off. I mean, maybe there could be stretch marks, and look, I'm not too critical of stretch marks because that just means you've carried a kid. There's only like some bodies stretch more than others, depending on how big the baby is, depending on the elasticity of your skin. That's not really something you can change, but it's also not something that's super attractive to look at. And here's the thing, right? If you actually have a good cohesive relationship with your ex-partner that you've had the kids with, um, for a man whose kids are essentially were the reason for the stretch marks to begin with, for some men, those stretch marks can actually be, a bonding thing and an endearing. For some guys don't like them, but for some guys it can be that. And that's why if you can stay together and make things work and find some middle ground and happiness and look after each other, that can work really well. But look, that's another story. I don't want to go into that too much today because people will have different views on that, and I've got mine. Next was a banker called Nick who was divorced and a couple of years younger than her, whom she started dating with high hopes again. We would speak for hours at a time, she said. We both loved cooking, so we had that in common, and we were from the same part of the country. They arranged to date by booking into London hotels because Nick lived far away and would visit expensive restaurants during their stays. He would pick up a tab for £150 and say, I should pay for the next one. But the next one would be £240. He was so mean, says Kim. More troubling was his heavy drinking. Well, look, that's a red flag in a guy or a girl, heavy drinking. And in fact, heavy alcoholism is one of the strongest indicators for interpersonal violence. And interpersonal violence is usually two-way. And if you get involved in a stoush with a woman and she calls the police, you're in for a whole lot of hurt, buddy. If you have a penis, you're in trouble, especially if there's even a mark on her. That's just the way it is. Understand it, accept it, avoid situations like that. So her list of failed romances goes on. Unshaven Tim from Hampshire drove her in a dilapidated car for a weekend to the New Forest before boring her about his collection of Hornby toy trains. He took his sheepdog Molly along with them. The pet lay on the bottom of their bed at night. Then there was a film director called Steve who incessantly dropped names of the famous people he had met. Trying to impress you, I see. I don't know why. There's no reason you need to impress her. The last straw was a man who invited her as his date to his birthday party, then ignored her all night, even though she'd gone to the trouble of baking him a cake and buying him an expensive pen as a present. Was this your first date with him? Because if it was, I feel like that's maybe not the best time to have your first date. But I'm not going to judge too harshly because I don't know the circumstances. I think many men who go on dating sites, she says, lie about wanting a committed relationship. Yeah, you're right about that. We want the punani. That's what we want from online dating. Don't be mad about it. It is what it is. And we're going to get the best quality punani we can. We're not going to settle for the worst quality or middle of the road. Whatever the highest quality we can obtain, if that's what we're searching for, is what we're going to go after. Here we go. I think many men who go on dating sites lie about wanting a committed relationship. They say that to get to meet a woman and because they think it is what she wants to hear. That's why they do it, because they think they actually think it's what you want to hear. I checked some of my men out. They were still looking for other partners on the internet when I was seeing them. Yeah, because they know they can do better in terms of attractiveness. And this is why I'm saying to you, Kim, focus on your nutrition, focus on your fitness, focus on your physique, because that then elevates you to a higher level, and you'll be ahead of other people in your age group. It was a huge letdown, she says, to find out they were cheating on me, but this just seems to be the way now. And look, it's not men that exclusively do this as well. There's a lot of women that are playing the field on the dating websites. It's just not the best place to find a long-term partner. Simple as that. Kim has given up her internet search for a man. Like Candace Bushnell, she reckons there aren't enough decent ones to go around. She concludes rather sadly, screwing up the list in her hand into a tiny ball. I don't think I will ever find love again. And you know what? That is kind of sad. Unfortunately, but it is what it is. This is the world, a whole new world. I know that I'm not a very good singer, and that was probably a little out of tune, but I just wanted to make that Aladdin reference because her magic carpet needs a vacuum. Anyway, Pradeep says, in real life, have you been confronted by a feminist? Well, I haven't been confronted on the street by one that's seen me and come up to me and said hello or tried to challenge me, but I have definitely faced challenges to my points of view or my discussions that I've had. I've had feminists that have really gotten their back up about some of the things that I've said. But, look, you've got to have thick skin when you're going to have unpopular opinions. You really do. If you don't have thick skin, you're going to have a bad time, really. So just understand that they're only attacking you and getting upset at you because they're coming from a particular viewpoint and they think that everyone thinks the same way. And in fact, you know what? I'm just gonna touch on this, right? Because for any of you guys who watched my video this morning on that article that was done by Laura Bates trying to crap all over MGTOW, did you know that Laura Bates actually started the everydaysexism.com project, where women basically can go and post tales of their sexist experiences, even though a lot of them aren't actually sexism. Same thing would happen to a man as well, but because they're a woman, they think it happened to them because they're a woman. I'm going to share this one entry that I had to laugh at today, because I often talk about how universities are feminist indoctrination camps and how you go to university to learn things. So when you actually get to uni, you think that whatever it is that you've learned must be factual. It must be true. And this is the problem, because women are learning lies at university. Even on my podcast, the Unapologetic Aussie podcast that I did with Greta Aurora the other day, she studied biology and also sociology, and she saw the real disconnect between the two. And that red pilled her to some extent, to paraphrase her, but, not, if you want to hear her story, go and check out that podcast, and I'll leave a link in the description below. But I just wanted to share this one post that I saw on Everyday Sexism today on that website that Laura Bates founded. Feminist 31,000. I went camping with my boyfriend and his friends. This is some bonus content for you guys. We had a nice time but on the last night we had a campfire chat about politics, science, truth, algorithms, etc. So all fact-based stuff. We were discussing feminism, so she had to come in with the ideology, right, and challenge the facts. And I had a great debate with this MRA, but he had an open mind where he changed his mind at the end. Woohoo! So she's celebrating the fact that she changed an MRA's mind to agree with her, right? Great success, right? Great success, everyone. I'm a feminist and I changed an MRA's mind to come around to my way of thinking. But this other guy just wasn't open to my ideas. Kind of like how you weren't open to the first guy's ideas. He said, "It's just you who thinks this," and minimized and dismissed everything I said. Exasperated, I said, and guys, I'm quoting this verbatim. You cannot make this up. Exasperated, I said, "I was told this at university!" Exclamation mark. 2 exclamation marks, actually. Close quote. Meaning that lots of people learn this, and these theories at this point, and these theories were well established, but he interpreted it as, "You ignorant tradie," and swore at me. I was getting pretty upset at this point because I was so angry that he wasn't listening. Yeah, just like you weren't listening to the first guy until he decided to agree with you. I hate when you feel like crying because it makes me feel weak, even though crying isn't weak. It's just an expression of frustration. Yeah, because you feel weak and you feel frustrated because someone doesn't agree with you. So imagine the frustration that other people must feel when you're carrying on with your feminist nonsense and you try and shove it down their throats. Sounds a bit hypocritical to me, but that's none of my business. This conversation taught me not to engage in a discussion with anyone who isn't open-minded. Feminist theory should be taught in school. So feminist theory should be taught in school. So every single child that goes through school will think the same things that you think. So you'll never have to have anyone disagree with you ever again. Is that what you're saying? Because it sounds a hell of a lot like that's what you're saying. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. I'd love to get your thoughts in the description below. Thank you to all of the gentlemen that have dropped in a super chat. And thank you to those of you who have sent PayPal donations. If you want to donate by PayPal, check out the description below. Like I said before, this video is sponsored by Land of the Losers, the tale of simp to successful with women. Even though I am not much of a reader, I love the book and I read it cover to cover. It didn't take me that long either. It was a really interesting, enlightening, and fun read. And I think anyone who's kind of gone through that process in the past would definitely be able to relate to it. But yeah, there's a discount. There's a discount code if you want to go check that out in the description. But for now, I am going to go and get some sleep because I have just 4 hours ago finished my shift and I haven't really slept a lot yet. And I have work again tonight. So I'm going to bounce. But I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for supporting this channel. Thanks so much for smashing the thumbs up. As I'm sure those of you who haven't already done it are about to do. Please comment, share, like this video, all of the good stuff. And I'll catch you in the next video. Appreciate you guys. Peace.